The American people are exhausted and tired of watching their tax dollars be corruptly spent, abused, wasted, and in every sense robbed and stolen from them. This president, for the first time in history, is committed to restoring accountability at every level of the federal government. You may assert there's no waste in the Pentagon. You may assert there's no waste in
Stephen,
Treasury.
I'm not
you may assert there's no waste in HHS.
Stephen, I don't think anyone...
Then why are you not celebrating these cuts? If you agree there is waste, if you agree there is abuse, if you agree there is corruption, why are you not celebrating the cuts, the reforms that are being instituted? Every day that no action is taken, the entire salaries of American workers that are taxed disappear forever.
Stephen, let's calm down.
This is not...
We're not having a debate.
There's no reason
about whether there are places...
You are clearly trying to debate me, and I will be as excited as I want to be about the fact that we are saving Americans billions of dollars, that we are ending the theft and waste and grift and corruption, that we are stopping American taxpayer dollars from subsidizing a rogue federal bureaucracy that has been relentlessly weaponized against the American people.
Okay,
you may not care about this issue.
Talking about
your colleagues may not care about this issue, but we care about this issue. The American people care about this issue.
They also care about privacy.
And the American public overwhelmingly supports what President Trump is.
We know that Donald Trump's press secretary, Carolyn Leavitt, is a liar. But you would hope, considering her job is to lie on behalf of Donald Trump and, of course, Elon Musk, that maybe she'd be good at it. But she's not. She's constantly tripping over her own falsehoods. She's bringing more attention to scandals in the administration. And when she does get caught in her many lies, she just lashes out at the press and melts down. And we saw one of those examples when she was pressed on and caught in a lie that she's been telling for a while about Doge that has legal implications for Elon Musk. And we're going to get into all of that. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me now. Before we get into Carolyn screaming at the press, I think we need two clips that provide the context of why.
Chief of Staff for Policy. Stephen, thank you so much for taking time for us. So who is in charge of Doge?
The President of the United States.
He's the administrator of Doge?
No, the Doge is what was formerly U.S. Digital Services. It's an agency of the federal government that reports into the office of the Executive Office of the President, which reports to the President of the United States.
Okay.
The way that Article 2 works is the President wins an election, and then he appoints staff, including myself, including Mike Waltz, including Susie Wiles, including Elon Musk, and those staff report to him.
Okay, well aware. So Elon Musk a week ago answered a question about transparency at Doge. This is how he spoke about Doge.
Well, we actually are trying to be as transparent as possible. In fact, our actions, we post our actions to the Doge handle on X and to the Doge website. So all of our actions are maximally transparent.
You hear him there. We post our actions. All of our actions are maximally transparent. Does Elon Musk know he's not in charge of Doge?
Again, the president runs the government, then the president appoints advisors, including Elon, including myself, including all the other staff here at the White House, and then those staff in turn execute the president's commands and directions to all the agencies of the federal government. This is how democracy works, something that we treasure in America. The whole American people go to the ballot box, they elect the president appoints staff, the staff that administer his orders and directives across the whole U.S. government.
Okay, Stephen, I get that, but this is important because we want to talk about who's making the decisions here. There were 300 employees, the National Nuclear Security Administration, you know about this. They were fired. The agency had to rescind those terminations because these were employees who were critical to maintaining the nation's nuclear stockpile.
And I should say, we will make mistakes. We won't be perfect, but when we make a mistake, we'll fix it very quickly. So, for example, with USAID, one of the things we accidentally canceled very briefly was Ebola, Ebola prevention. I think we all want Ebola prevention. So we restored the Ebola prevention immediately, and there was no interruption. But we do need to move quickly if we're to achieve a $1 trillion deficit reduction in financial year 2026. It requires saving $4 billion per day, every day, from now through the end of September. But we can do it, and we will do it.
So, of course, those two clips provide important context for why Carolyn Levitt melted down. But I want to get into the first one. So this has been an ongoing saga of who is running Doge. Of course, it was first announced that it would be Elon. And then Trump went back on that. But it came out. Elon signed a sworn affidavit that he did, so he was lying under oath. But there's a reason Elon doesn't necessarily want to be locked down into this specific title. It would require him to well follow the law. And we know from his past history, he's not a big fan of that. So they've been trying to skate around really locking him into any position in particular, and it's also because he doesn't want to bear the burden of the responsibility when, as we saw in that second clip, he does something stupid and disastrous and dangerous, and it's the reason that the press continue to ask this question: who's in charge? Who's letting all these things happen? Who should be held accountable? Now, of course, it's Elon, but they decided to throw a random name at us, Amy Gleason, saying she's been running Doge, even though we are never told that. And when Carolyn Levitt was pressed on this topic, she melted down.
We're now hearing from constituents in some traditionally red districts right now complaining about what they say is the chainsaw approach and saying that it's been done very sloppily, the cuts to jobs and spending. How do you respond to that criticism?
I love how the media takes a few critics when the overwhelming response from the American people is support for what this administration is doing. If you look at the public polling, 70% of Americans, according to CBS, believe that President Trump is delivering on the promises he made. And there should be no secret about the fact that this administration is committed to cutting waste, fraud, and abuse. The president campaigned on that promise. Americans elected him on that promise, and he's actually delivering on it. And this is something that Democrats promised they would do for decades. President Trump is just the first president to get it done.
Let me ask you about the fraud, if I can. We can all have our own opinion about what is wasteful spending, and Republicans have praised the president for cutting wasteful spending, but fraud, of course, is a crime. So have you turned over evidence of fraud to the Justice Department, and when should we expect to see those indictments?
It's a clever question. First of all, I think all Americans would agree that funding mastectomies in Mozambique is not something that the American people should be funding, or DEI programs. I think it's fraudulent that the American government has been ripping off taxpayers in this way. And we also do know there has been extensive fraud, particularly if you look at Social Security. In fact, according to an IG report from the Social Security Administration, there was $71 billion worth of fraud in one single fiscal year that we know about. And so that is a lot of fraud, Peter, that the government has admitted to. So this administration is committed to finding even more of that fraud, waste, and abuse.
To be clear, that $71 billion was from 2015 to 2022, so it wasn't in just 1 year, and it was
$71 billion.
But it wasn't in 1 year, just to be clear.
In one report.
And it was in one report over multiple years, from 2015 to 2022.
So are you defending $71 billion in fraud, Peter? That's a lot of money, far too much, and that's why this administration... Why is the media so against cutting waste, fraud, and abuse from the government? I don't get it.
I just want to ask a question.
We won't be deterred. We will not be deterred from people like you and the press who are clearly adamantly opposed to cutting waste, fraud, and abuse. But we know that American taxpayers at home who have been struggling with an inflationary crisis don't want their tax dollars going towards crazy DEI programs in countries overseas. They also don't like the fact that there has been $71 billion worth of fraud in Social Security and improper payments going out the door. That's a problem that needs to be fixed, and President Trump is going to fix it. That's your fifth question. Elena, do you have anything to add?
Why are you so obsessed with the truth, Carolyn Levitt asks of the press? These people are ridiculous. There was a story in the New York Times naming 25 officials in Doge today, and the Republican response was, why are you outing these people? Why are journalists trying to dox these people? I don't know. I feel like we should be able to know who the White House employees are. All these people talking about our tax dollars and how they're misspend Elon and his Doge bag, saying that There's so much fraud, so much abuse, so much corruption. How about a little bit of clarity? How about a little bit of transparency for where our tax dollars are going? If they're going to a bunch of Doge bags, I want to know, and I also want to know who's in charge of the Doge bags, which we cannot get a straight answer on. And again, this is to protect Elon from legal liability. It's also so Elon doesn't have to disclose conversations that he's having with our foreign adversaries all the time, so he doesn't have to divest from his businesses so he can act in whatever corrupt manner he wants. That is what this is all about for Elon Carolyn. Lovett clearly does not get getting pressed on that. I wonder if she's working more for Elon or for Trump at this point. I guess it's kind of one and the same. And speaking of transparency of who is in Doge, there was a graphic put up so stupid by the White House of, how many questions Donald Trump has answered versus how many questions President Biden answered in the first, couple weeks of his administration. It doesn't count as answering the question if you lie every time, by the way, about what you're doing. And speaking of lies, lots of them, as we know, coming out of Doge, and Jasmine Crockett called him out for that in this great clip.
It is time for us to say, Mr. President, guess what? Russia invaded Ukraine. Can we at least agree on that one? Facts matter. Y'all, this is literally potentially putting us into an international crisis. We may be heading towards the next world war because we have a president that wants to pal around with Putin and wants to do everything to make him feel good, including lying about who invaded who. Mr. Chair, I got a minute left, but I really want to yield to any of my colleagues and ask them if they will say today, very basically, that when it came down to the war in Ukraine, that it was not Ukraine that invaded Russia, it was the other way around. Is there anybody in here that has enough courage to say that Russia invaded Ukraine?
You can have my time.
And this is yet the problem.
If Republicans Elon Musk, if his little Doge bags actually cared about waste, fraud, and abuse, I think we would be looking at the contracts given to Elon Musk and not USAID. We'd be looking at how much money Donald Trump spends when he goes to a NASCAR race, or how many of our tax dollars go to his golf outings at his own clubs, by the way, just paying into his pocket rather than laying off FAA agents who are making sure planes land something that's happening less frequently in a safe manner because of the actions of Donald Trump and Elon Musk. You cannot move fast and break things when breaking things means people die. Elon, this isn't Silicon Valley. This isn't some tech startup you bought with your blood money up your dad. Oh God, we have the worst people in the world running your grab, don't we? Well, it's our job to call them out. And we're certainly going to be doing that on this show every single day. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button. You can leave a like on this video. And if you stuck around to the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.